Good morning, everyone. We will be starting. Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Sumaya. I'm with EuroDIG, and I will be the remote moderator online. I will just read the session rules, and then I will give the floor to Vlad. So please enter with your full name if you're online. To ask a question, raise hand using the Zoom function. You will be unmuted when the floor is given to you. When speaking, switch on the video, state your name and affiliation. Do not share links to the Zoom meetings, not even with your colleagues. Thank you very much. Vlad, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Vlad Vilnius. I'm one of the moderators for this session, but today I will mostly draft the messages of the session, and the main moderator will be Mark Carvel. And also we have the intervention of Sandra. So we can start the session. And please, Sandra, you can give your open remarks.
Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Mark, first of all, for organizing the session and for the speaker to be here in person. That's much appreciated, and also for everyone who is in the room. You know that usually we made a NRI-Assembly in the pre-events part, but since one of the workshops this year was so topical to the NRI's discussion, we thought let's not duplicate discussions, and let's use our tight schedule that we all have this year with the IGF and the EuroDIG so close. Let's use that wisely and make one of the workshops just the NRI. But we would like to continue with one tradition, at least to welcome new NRIs or NRIs that are just information. And I'm very happy to welcome in our group Juso Valino from the Basque region. He is here, and maybe Juso, Josu, you would like to say a few words to where you are at the moment, and so that people have a face to you.
Thank you, Sandra. Good morning, everyone. I'm Josu Valino from the Basque community. As Sandra said, okay. I'm the manager of .eus, which is the top-level domain for the Basque linguistic and cultural community online. And we are trying to establish the NRI for the Basque community. Right now, we are in conversations with the Basque government. For us, having an NRI created for the Basque community will be interesting, because the Basque community is distributed in different governmental administrations. So we are trying to figure that out, and we'll let you know if it's success or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Josu, and sorry if I've pronounced your name not rightly. But let me ask, is there any other NRI information in the room that are not yet well known to this community? Is there anyone else who is considering setting up an NRI? I'm asking because we would, of course, be happy to help, assist, to get in contact with you. Then just raise your hand if this is the case. No, it seems not. But I would like to invite you, if you hear from any initiative that is about thinking, forming an NRI, please ask them to reach out to us. Apart from reaching out, of course, to the global IGF, but we would really like to get engaged with you, to assist, to make you public to the community, and basically collaborate with you and help wherever we can. Sometimes it's just us answering questions, like I had a call with Josu, and we also discussed some first things, so don't be shy. And now we are discussing this very timely topic of the follow-up on the Global Digital Compact. Our session organizing team has prepared guiding questions and has invited some speakers. And without further ado, I hand over to a session moderator, which is Mark Carvel. Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sandra, and welcome everybody to this workshop on Global Digital Compact implementation. Everybody in the room and also online. We hope very much to have a very interactive brainstorming workshop here with the aim of focusing on practical ways in which we can contribute to the Global Digital Compact process. Just a quick reminder, the compact was agreed by the UN member states in September last year as part of the Pact for the Future. It included objectives on bridging digital divides, expanding the digital economy inclusion, fostering a safe, secure and inclusive digital space that upholds human rights, interoperable data governance and AI governance for humanity's benefit. This workshop takes forward previous EuroDIG discussions about UN processes, digital cooperation, and last year in Vilnius on the Global Digital Compact. We had messages agreed there to support the aims of the compact and a commitment to consider how the national and regional IGFs can contribute to the implementation of its commitments to action agreed by the member states. So this workshop invites NRIs and their stakeholder constituents across Europe and beyond to explore practical mechanisms for translating the commitments in the compact into national and regional action, to share best practice and identify opportunities for improving cooperation amongst the NRI community across the world. What are there? About 170 NRIs? 175, is it? So we've got two important experts right at the heart of this GDC process to help us and set the scene and comment on our objectives. We have Isabel de Sola, head of the coordination team in the UN Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies, you're based in Geneva, and Chengetai Masango, head of office for the UN Secretariat for the IGF, who I'm sure many of us know well from all the previous IGF processes and events. So we'll invite them to speak first of all, and then we'll open the floor for an interactive discussion that aims really to generate messages from this workshop with recommendations to implement in practical ways the Global Digital Compact. So we have one guiding question. I don't know if it's, well, I'll read it so it goes on the screen. The question is, in what specific ways can the NRIs collaborate to support and assist the implementation of the Global Digital Compact at the national and global levels? So that's our guiding question, our focus for this workshop. So without further ado, I'll turn to Isabel de Sola. Chengetai, sorry. Chengetai? Okay. Yes. Okay, to Chengetai, first of all, to present some opening remarks.
Right.
Thank you.
Very much,
Thank you,
Mark.
Chengetai. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Today I'll just give my take on the discussion, which represents a critical intersection in our journey towards a better digital future for the role of national, regional, and youth internet governance forums. In bringing this ambitious vision of the UN Global Digital Compact to life, the Global Digital Compact states to foster an open, free, secure, and human-centric digital world. The GDC vision requires robust mechanisms for implementation at all levels, and this is where the unique strengths of the NRIs as dynamic local, national, and regional multi-stakeholder initiatives becomes indispensable. Before we delve into the role of the NRIs, let's briefly recall what the UN Global Digital Compact sets out to achieve. It is a comprehensive framework aiming to ensure that digital technologies benefit all of humanity. Key objectives include closing digital divides and connecting the unconnected, a foundational step for equitable participation in the digital age. It also champions promoting an internet that is open, free, secure, rights-based, and inclusive, fostering trust and security in the digital space. For example, by addressing online harms and promoting data protection. Furthermore, it emphasizes ensuring that digital technologies, including rapidly advancing fields like artificial intelligence, are governed in a way that respects human rights, promotes sustainable development, and mitigates potential risks. Critically, the Compact reaffirms the importance of the multi-stakeholder approach to digital governance, a principle that lies at the very heart of the IGF and the national regional initiatives, recognizing that collaborative efforts are essential for effective digital governance. National and regional internet governance forums are not just smaller versions of the global IGF. They are vibrant bottom-up platforms that bring together diverse stakeholders, governments, the private sector, civil society, and the technical community and academia within specific geographical contexts. Their power lies in the proximity to local realities and their ability to convene these varied voices to discuss and address internet governance issues that directly impact their communities. NRIs understand the nuances of their local digital landscapes and specific cultural contexts, the economic conditions, the existing infrastructure, and the unique regulatory environments. They are acutely aware of the specific challenges their populations face, from the digital literacy gaps in one region to cybersecurity threats targeting local businesses in another, and the unique opportunities that are available. This grassroots connection and their inherent multi-stakeholder DNA and their agility makes them uniquely positioned to translate global commitments into tangible local actions and impact, ensuring that global policies are not just adopted, but adapted and owned locally. So, how can local and regional multi-stakeholder initiatives specifically contribute to implementing the Global Digital Compact? I see several key areas building on their inherent strengths. First, localizing global principles and fostering inclusive dialogue. NRIs can take the broad objectives of the Digital Compact, such as promoting digital trust or ensuring human rights online, and contextualize them. For example, one NRI in a developing region might focus on how to build trust in digital financial services, while another might tackle complex issues around AI ethics in local governance. They can host inclusive dialogues that ensure all voices, especially those marginalized and underrepresented groups, such as indigenous communities, persons with disabilities, rural populations, are heard in the discussion about how the Compact should be implemented locally. This directly supports the Compact's aim to leave no one behind and ensure that local needs shape local solutions. Second, by driving capacity building and addressing regional digital divides. NRIs are ideal platforms for raising awareness and about the Compact and building the capacity of local stakeholders to engage with its provisions. This could involve organizing workshops for local journalists on combating disinformation, training small and medium enterprises on data protection principles aligned with the Compact, or developing digital literacy programs for seniors or youth. They can identify specific regional digital divides and in access to affordable broadband, skills to navigate the digital world safely, or the availability of locally relevant content, and facilitate collaborative multi-stakeholder efforts to develop and implement targeted solutions, thereby directly contributing to the Compact's goal of universal connectivity and digital inclusion. Thirdly, channeling grassroots perspectives and innovative solutions into global policy. At the IGF, we say that wisdom can come from any place, any corner. The insights, challenges, best practices, and innovative solutions identified at the local and regional level are invaluable. NRIs can act as crucial feedback loops, systematically collecting and challenging these on-the-ground realities and diverse regional perspectives into the global IGF and other fora. This could be through dedicated NRI reports, active participation of NRI representatives in the global discussions, or showcasing local success stories. This ensures that the ongoing evolution and implementation of the Digital Compact remains grounded in the lived experiences of people worldwide and benefit from the diverse innovations emerging from different regions. We are fortunate to now have 176 NRIs covering all the main regions of the world and the majority of the countries. So, in conclusion, national and regional IGFs are not just participants in the global governance ecosystem, they are essential enablers and catalysts for change. Their ability to foster local dialogue, build capacity, innovate, and connect grassroots realities with global policy makes them vital partners in realizing the ambitious goals of the UN Global Compact. We, at the IGF, are therefore committed in strengthening and supporting NRIs, empowering them to play their full part in shaping the digital future that is truly open, inclusive, and beneficial to all. And thank you. I was 1 minute over, but you'll forgive me. Yeah.
We forgive you, Changatai, especially after such an impressive overview of how NRIs can contribute. And you made so many important points about localizing global perspectives and contextualizing commitments in the compact with regard to local conditions, local regulatory environments, and so on, and ensuring marginalized and underrepresented communities are involved in this process, and ensuring that local solutions are developed in such a way that fits those and serves the best interests of those communities, and ensuring grassroots perspectives. I think these were all very valid, important points. Okay, I'll turn now to Isabel to follow up as our guest speaker from EuroDIG with regard to implementation. Over to you, Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark and Vlad, and for the wonderful invitation to be here. This is my first EuroDIG, so it's very exciting to come. I had heard quite a lot about you from Changatai since 2018. And it's wonderful to come and listen to the different regional accents that there are across the IGF network. Each time I come, I learn more. I want to congratulate Changatai and ask you to please send me your statement in writing, because I couldn't agree more. Changatai and I have had a couple of brainstorms about this very question. How can we get the NRIs more involved in GDC implementation? And I think all of those answers, we couldn't agree with them more. Now, I come as a voice after Changatai's high-flying and philosophical reflection. I come as the voice of the bureaucracy, so you'll forgive me. I represent a small office that has the task of taking forward implementation of the Global Digital Compact together with our co-chairs at the ITU. And what I'd like to do in the minutes that I've been given is tell you a little bit about how the Secretary General, ODED, and the ITU have been working to set up a process for implementation of the GDC. And then I'd like to show you a couple of concrete ways that we hope that this process could collaborate and benefit and listen to and capture information from the grassroots level and the NRIs. So on the screen, you see the scene on the eve of the approval of the Pact for the Future. And it's critical, I think, as the WSIS review progresses, to remember that the GDC is part of this broader umbrella called the Pact for the Future that was carefully crafted and corresponds to a political agenda that was born in New York. And so if we're speaking about accents, sometimes the GDC has a New York style accent. It's part of a big umbrella that has 6 pillars, and those 6 pillars are meant to drag multilateralism, the UN, into the future. There's a pillar on youth, on climate change, on reforming financial architectures, on peace and security, on digital technologies, and I'm forgetting one, development, of course. And the idea of the pact was to update all of these pillars and to find a way for them to be more interlocking or to connect across their silos so that they would reflect on the ways that each of these issues has an impact on the others. So if we go to the next slide, I'll show you where the bureaucracy begins. So the SG, I think on the day after that the pact was approved, called into being a steering committee for implementation of the pact. So the UN architecture moved very quickly from supporting the dialogue and the negotiation to figuring out how we would deliver on this promise of an interlocking political agenda. And the SG called into question a steering committee, and the steering committee broke up into working groups, one for each pillar of the pact. And the working groups would have the task of giving momentum, pushing forward, tracking, and raising awareness for each of the pillars of the pact. So there's one working group called Digital Technologies, and it's focused on Chapter 3 of the pact, which is about science, technology, and innovation, and the annex, one of 2 annexes of the pact, which is the GDC. And it is ODET and the ITU that co-chair this working group. And today it has 35 member agencies that have signed up to be a part of it. And I must admit that it is a little bit Soviet-style planning. And I say that in the halls of the Council of Europe, where there's great appreciation, I think, for Soviet-style planning. But we've started out looking from the center of the UN, and if you show the next slide, Vlad, what we've been working on is a very, actually quite rigorous tracking system that takes all of the paragraphs of the pact and assigns responsibility for either tracking, supporting, or leading on their delivery. And this has been a 7-month process of internal planning, and I'd like to use 2 important words, so rigor and accountability. What you see on the screen is an online portal that was created by the SG's office, and where all of the entire UN system has been asked to contribute very specifically, what are you doing for each of these paragraphs? If we go to the next slide, I'd be happy to share these slides afterwards. We've been asked to articulate milestones and key performance indicators. And we've been asked to step forward as agencies or office and say, I am responsible for these specific things. I find that exciting, and this is the Excel nerd in me, because in a context, a very difficult context for multilateralism, what we're doing here is holding ourselves accountable. The UN, as everyone knows, has evolved over the years. We're currently facing a very difficult financial panorama. And in that same context, we're also holding ourselves to the highest standards of accountability after delivering this agenda. I think it's also helpful in the sense that it integrates what already exists. So member states have been very clear during the negotiation of the GDC and also at the recent CSTD meeting that GDC implementation needs to build on those projects, programs, and initiatives that already exist. So this tracking portal invites these existing projects, for example, the IGF dynamic coalitions as well, to become visible and to hold, to be part of this movement of accountability and rigor. So let me go through a couple more slides of how I think that, how I would like to invite us to collaborate together. So paragraph 71 of the GDC mandated a GDC implementation map to come into being. And that the map is going in the same trend, I think, of rigor and accountability and visibility for what we're doing. There have been long conversations in the working group on digital technologies about how this map should look. We've developed some concepts, and what you see on the screen is a mock-up of how it could look. The map will have a couple of functionalities, and I'll show them to you very quickly. So we can go to the next slide. First is it's a place where stakeholders could register their contributions. So Chengetai spoke about local initiatives that have translated global objectives into the reality on the ground. All of those contributions that are already happening and initiatives around the world, this map is paragraph 71 says, should reflect those contributions. So we're hoping that by opening the map up to the use of stakeholders, those who would like to make themselves visible or to share information on what they're doing could use this very simple portal and show us what you've got. So next slide. In the future, if we have enough data points, what we'd like to do is be able to make trends visible across the implementation of the GDC. For example, here you see data that we've pulled from a few publicly available sources on Finland. We pulled sources from the WSIS stock-taking platform, from the UN Global Compact, from Partner to Connect, from an international aid tracker at the OECD. And we mapped for Finland 20 contributions that are happening across stakeholders across the 5 GDC objectives. And we hope that if the tool has sufficiently high level of quality data and quantity data, that it could be a useful way for stakeholders to find patterns or to find gaps. And next slide. I think there's just 2 more slides. A critical piece of the map is a compendium of what's already out there. So we know that there are plethora of UN initiatives that correspond to different pillars of the GDC. It's just that they're not all in the same place. So some are at the ITU, some are at UNESCO, some are happening in DESA. And one of the functionalities of the map is to be able to search UN existing mechanisms or to find them easily by GDC pillar. Forgive the graphics, this is a rough mock-up, but on the next slide, you could see an example of how it would work for GDC Action 11, which is on connectivity, on closing digital divides. It's the first pillar of the GDC, and underneath that, we would list a dozen or however many UN initiatives exist that support this GDC action, with the objective of making it easy for stakeholders who are looking for this information to be able to connect with or find the right UN door to knock on. And I think one more slide and then I'm done. No, okay, so if we go back there, if we go back to the map, the actual map one, 2 more down. One idea that we'd like to conduct focus groups on, and I'd be very grateful of your feedback, is this useful? So we have done a mock-up of what the map could be like, and it will only be helpful, I think it will only be very useful if we can in fact connect with stakeholders on the ground and turn it over to them and say, input your initiatives. Would you like to make yourself visible? Here's a way to make yourself visible. But we want to do so in making sure that it is actually what stakeholders would like to have as a tool. I think the NRIs are a natural ally for us to stress test our concept. So to red team what you're seeing here on the screen. And if we proceed with this project, to raise awareness about its existence and turn it over to your stakeholders on the ground. So data is only as helpful as the quality and quantity. I think if we have a database that is not useful, it will not have a lot of data points, and therefore it will not be a very helpful map. We know that some maps are hanging on walls and they're very beautiful. They're maps made for cartographers. We would like to have a map that's made for the navigators. And I very much welcome your perspectives on this. For the moment, it's a small team of ODAT, UNCTAD, and UNIDO that are developing the mock-up, and it's in an early phase. So your input is actually most valuable at this early stage. And yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Isabel, for firstly helping us to navigate the bureaucracy of implementation so effectively and in a very positive way, I think. And secondly, for running through the design of the tools that first of all, the tracking portal. I don't know, is that open for people to see now, the tracking portal?
No, so
Yep.
just quickly, the tracking portal from the SG's office is not open. It's an internal tracking tool, but he is giving regular progress reports on it to the member states.
Okay, well, it'd be good to see those progress reports and the implementation map. When do you think that will become operational? I mean, I see that as the opportunity for NRIs to contribute to populating it with the data that you say is so important for it to succeed. So when do you think it'll be operational?
Yes, forgive me. Those are critical questions that I should have included in my presentation. We've been working on the concept since the summer of last year, and we would like to reveal an operational or functional version that stakeholders can begin populating by the WSIS review. And in a sense, we see this tool, if it's designed correctly, as one possible way for the GDC architecture and the WSIS mechanisms to work together. And the idea would be, if it's stress tested and red teamed and stakeholders are happy with this and member states are happy with this, that we could complete a zero version by the WSIS high-level forum in July and a functional open to the public version by the time of the WSIS review.
Thanks very much. So by the time of the WSIS review means
December.
December, yeah. That's when the high-level meeting takes place in the General Assembly. All right, thanks very much. So we've had a lot of very useful information in these two opening presentations and descriptions of how the NRIs can be proactive in disseminating, ensuring there's awareness amongst stakeholder communities of this process and how to contribute to it, and also describing how the GDC process can constructively be disseminated down to the local community level in so many ways, as Chengetai in particular described. So let's now discuss this with an eye to our guiding question on specific actions. So I invite stakeholders in the room and those online. I see we have a number of people online to indicate if they would like to comment, ask questions, and share vision really on how NRIs can engage in the kind of ways that have been described, the specific mechanics, if you like, of engagement. And what do you think might be the barriers, the challenges that NRIs can overcome? So I open the floor to anybody who wants to kick off our brainstorming on that. Does anybody want to volunteer to start? I see a hand at the back, and please introduce yourself and describe who you're accredited to, and then grateful to hear your points. Okay, hand at the back there, yeah, thank you.
I guess it's me, then Giacomo. I'm EuroDIG member of the board and also expert for the Italian IGF. It's very interesting, the mechanism that is put in place by the audit, but I think that we need to see how it could be made accessible to non-UN agencies. Because if we have to go through UN agencies to show up what happens on the field, this would be an obstacle that will make less useful this tool. And also, the other question is, there was a mechanism that was launched by the audit. It was the endorsement of the process that has been launched for the implementation of GDC. But until now, for instance, we endorsed that Eurovisioni this, but until now we have not seen any feedback on that. So if you don't give a feedback to the people, then the people is not motivated to continue to interact. And the third point is that, in my opinion, would be the best way to use this tool would be to make questions, to address specific questions through IGF to NRI's network on points on which you would like to have an assessment. Let's say you want to see how is the implementation of, I don't know, the availability of access to good quality network, broadband network, and then you have to make a specific request asking there are examples of community network existing everywhere. And this is a point on which NRIs can be very valuable because they can provide you a feedback from the field. If you make a very generic question, then the people, you can receive a lot of inputs that probably are not relevant and are not streamlined. So if this can be organized, it would be more efficient. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Giacomo. Actually, I think there are 3 questions there. Perhaps we'll take them one by one. So shall I turn to Isabel, first of all, about accessibility beyond non-UN agencies, first of all, and then where do things stand with the endorsement process was the second point, and then questions and so on, and with particular reference to community networks as one example. Okay, Isabel, yes, please.
Yes, thank you for those questions. Let me start with the first one on endorsement. Let me have a look into it to make sure you receive some feedback. In December, we published a list and thanked all of the endorsers of the GDC online. And the Secretary General gave an update on that specific point as a note verbale to missions in New York with the full list of the endorsers. But it's not enough. We haven't had a town hall with the endorsers in the months since, so your point is well taken. Actually, the endorsement data is part of the mock-up of the implementation map. So the whole point of the implementation map is a tool that is not owned by the UN, but is actually turned over to the stakeholders. So the UN can have a Soviet-style planning tool with our portal and our KPIs, but the GDC says, have a map that helps the navigators, not only the cartographers, something for the stakeholders, that they can use it, that they can find each other, that they could learn about initiatives in a similar field or find contacts or potential partners, funders. We've gotten a little excited about what this map could do, but first and foremost, it's meant to be for the stakeholders. Your point is well taken about directing questions to the NRI, and I'll reflect on that more. We wanted the map to be a volunteer experience. So if civil society or foundations, think tanks on the ground would like to input their data, they could find it online. They wouldn't have to go through any hoops or agencies, and they could, in a simple fashion, find which of the GDC objectives or all of the GDC objectives they want to be visible about. However, it's true that it probably won't be so easy, and we need to reflect on a better data collection strategy that could include, for example, specific questions. or specific partnerships perhaps with NRIs that could hold our hand as we try to reach the grassroots level. I think one aspect that I very much liked about Chengetai's remarks is that tension between translating global into local reality and local initiatives impacting on the global discourse. And so from our perch, our New York or Geneva perch, we don't have the network and the skill set to translate our request for data into the right questions or into the right words for the local level. It may even be the case, for example, that the map is in English. And how will that limit some of the data that we find? So this is a learning process, and I appreciate your questions because they help us in our effort to stress test the concept.
Thank you, Isabel. That multilingual approach, I think, is another important aspect to take into account in ensuring the success of this process across the world. That's very important. Chengetai, did you want to add anything on those points?
No.
Okay. Isabel. Right, okay. Yes, indeed. Okay. I see Peter Koch wants to have signaled he wants to make from German IGF. I think he's over there in the room. Okay, thank you, Peter. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mark. My name is Peter Koch. I work for DINIG, but I'm speaking in my capacity of head of the Secretariat of the German IGF. And first of all, thanks for the presentation. And I think it's very good to have a concrete suggestion on the table to what could be contributed by the NRIs. And this is my first encounter to this. So if I've missed any previous opportunities, I apologize for my confusion here. In maybe following up on what Giacomo said, and red teaming, you mentioned red teaming, I'm putting my paranoid hat on here. So KPIs, I understand data is very important to gather an understanding of where are we and who is where and so on and so forth. However, there is this precondition that many of us, if not all of us, very much run on volunteer time and engagement of people from various parts of the community and various stakeholders. And this is, of course, not an agreed upon statement. I'm making this up as I learn about this. And I'm putting myself in the role of trying to explain this to my steering committee or the community, for example. I think it would be helpful if we could get a bit more information and appreciate that that is not happening right now in here. What an NRI would buy into or would subscribe to in terms of doing work, and how these filling out the forms and talking about the KPIs would maybe influence rather than reflect work that is done on the local level. So as a red teamer, I would say the risk here is that we are moving a dialogue and a communications exercise, communications and cooperations exercise very much into a compliance exercise. And that is a threat model that I think should be avoided. Thank you very much for that. We have a concrete suggestion on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So a point there about compliance and workload and so on. Isabel, do you want to, Chengetai?
We've had this talk throughout the existence of the NRIs and the IGF, is that, yes, we do recognize that it is mostly a volunteer effort. And when we do ask the NRIs to give input, it does put a lot on the workload. But it's also an opportunity for you to influence and to take part in these initiatives. So maybe not all of them may be worth it, but those that are worth it, I think it is worth it. And so this is what people have been asking for in any case, that their voice be heard, that they be given a chance for input, and that it should not just be through people from, not any disrespect to them, but not be through just delegates in New York, because they are removed from the local circumstance. So yes, it's a balance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I think that as well, that's a concern on the resources. So there were no new resources for GDC implementation, and that was also part of the negotiation over paragraph 71. So we have a new agenda with these ambitious objectives, but we have no new resources to really track it and monitor it. And in that, or to assist at the local level for different organizations or resident coordinators to roll it out. So what you see in this mock-up is a compromise, in a sense. It's what we can do with some of the resources that we have at this moment. And I think your point about does this slip into compliance is very well taken. So it's something that we would need to work into design, that this is about information sharing rather than necessarily measurement or benchmarking, comparing between different countries or between different types of stakeholders. That's not in the spirit of paragraph 71. And what could go wrong should be a separate chapter in our concept note. One question that we've been grappling with in that category of what could go wrong is that in order to overcome the resources question, advisors to the project from Salesforce, from Microsoft, from TCS, from the technology companies that have this experience, they've encouraged us to use AI. To create web crawlers to look into the internet and bring back publicly available information, which makes a lot of sense. So there are some very good databases that could feed into this portal already and save people a lot of time. On the other hand, we would then face the problem of data in general on the internet, which is mostly in English and which is mostly about a certain subset of the world. So we would perhaps inadvertently recreate some of the biases that already exist and information gaps that already exist. So in the category of what could go wrong, by trying to be resources efficient, we may have this problem again. Chengetai and I have only and I think with the leadership panel of the IGF, we have explored the idea of working with and through the NRIs. I take away your question of what could be done to assist or reinforce NRIs that would like to participate in this exercise so that it's not an additional burden to them.
Yes, and sorry. Just finally, we have at the IGF started, I think, maybe 10 years ago, the small grants program where we do give small grants to NRIs from developing and transitional economies. So it may not help Germany, but we do try and help the less fortunate with these small grants, which will mean a lot, and they will be able to carry out some of this. And of course, this depends on funding, but the more funds we have, the more funds that we can give out these small grants.
Thank you very much. The thought I had all along was that a number of NRIs, not all, but a number of NRIs do have active engagement with governments, with their local national governments. And that kind of interaction provides, I think, the opportunity for NRIs, individual national IGFs and regional ones, to say to your governments, look, you signed up to this commitment in the compact, but you haven't done anything yet, So, not going through the portal and so on, but just through that interaction, there's an opportunity for the NRIs, I think, to push the momentum and ensure the momentum is sustained on implementation of those commitments set out, member states signed up to. I think there was one more question, or two questions over there. We got three. Have we got? Time is tight, but okay, we'll try and get through the three of them. If you could be brief, and please say who you are. Thank you. So we'll start. I think there was hand raised at the back, then we'll come over here. There was a hand at the back, wasn't there? Yeah, okay, that one, okay. And then we'll come over here. Thank you.
My name is Octavian Szafranski. I'm a digital governance advisor at the Council of Europe in this house. Indeed, a very useful presentation because the whole, I guess, global community in this field is looking forward to the implementation of GDC. We at the Council of Europe take the Global Digital Compact as a very important reference for our own digital agenda because we have a number of activities dealing with the digital governance. We have already an experience in reporting to the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN, so I imagine that this exercise somehow also feeds on that experience. And from your presentation, I understand that the main data that will be fed into the central hub for analysis will be the KPIs and the milestones, and they will also produce the maps and the resulting reports. So it will be very important for us to work together to develop those or identify those KPIs and milestones, and they should be very properly, identified in a smart manner. That's mainly a statement. I suppose that you also, in addition to NRIs, rely on the important regional organization. The Council of Europe, having 46 member states, is an important regional organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's take all these final questions in a bunch and then ask Chenkatai and Isabel to comment in closing remarks. So I'll go to Wout next. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Wout Natris. I'm a member of the Dutch NL-IGF and of EuroDIG and of course the IGF, but I'm also representing dynamic coalitions. I'm very happy to see that it was mentioned that they should be known better. I think I'm going to try and tie the two together. If we talk about the success of internet governance, we mention the IGF, but also now 176 national regional IGF, 32 dynamic coalitions and other intersessional work, and they're all producing some sort of outcomes. So the question is, how do we make sure that these outcomes land on the right desks? And I think that that is the main challenge the IGF has faced from the very beginning. So in my opinion, and also addressing Peter's concern, we do need some coordination and guidance on this, because at the local level, regional level, all sorts of initiatives happen, but we need to learn what they are. And that guidance could come with presenting one or two questions when you write reports. For example, how do you assist the Global Digital Compact's work and make sure that the message lands right? So that's the sort of question that the IGF Secretariat could coordinate on. But it's something that we need in order to participate in the right way. And at the same time, it means that the messages that NRIs or intersessional work produces has the sort of wording in it that would trigger the desks, so to say, where the messages have to land. And I think if we work on that together, as NRIs, as dynamic coalitions, so that we have the same wording in our yearly reports or other reports we produce, then everybody would become the better for it, and the IGF and all its subsidiary organizations would become more relevant to policymakers, to industry, etc. So let's work on that together and make sure that we can deliver the right messages and that we know what messages you need, because that is something we are somewhere in the dark of sometimes. And that's where we need help and assistance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wout. I'll turn to Paul next.
Thank you. My name is Paul Blaker. I speak for the UK government, and thank you very much for the presentations. They've been really interesting. I guess I've got two questions. The first is a little bit technical, I'm afraid, but paragraph 71 of the GDC asked for the implementation map to be reflected in the Secretary-General's report on the WSIS review. If the portal is not going to be sort of completed until December, how will that be handled in terms of the WSIS review? Is there another implementation map that I've missed, or some other way of handling that requirement? So just a technical question. And then the second question, I guess, is how is it possible to avoid duplication with existing maps and other initiatives like this? So you mentioned the ITU manages the WSIS stock-taking database. There is the Partner to Connect initiative. I think DESA has a Connect STI portal as well. Is there a danger that if we're asking stakeholders to provide data to lots of separate initiatives, then none of them will be optimal? And how can you avoid fragmentation of efforts like that and make sure things are joined up? Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. So I think we take those questions now. Milestones, KPIs, coordination and guidance on NRI and DC outcomes, Paul's technical question on implementation timeline, and then the fragmentation risk. That's a lot. Off you go.
Those are all very good questions and also very good inputs. Are these my final statements, by the way? Yes. Okay. And one thing I wanted to mention is that for the IGF, for our annual report, we have asked all our work streams to give us input on how each individual stream, whether it be dynamic coalitions, the policy networks, etc., can contribute to the GDC, and we're going to be compiling those. We should also make, and thank you very much, Walt, we should also make it also clear in what they think that the Secretariat can do to help with that. Your comment on the templates and the guidelines is well taken and well noted, and we'll see if we can do something like that, because we need structured way for the data to come in. Otherwise, it'll just be garbage in, garbage out. So yeah, we have to do that. So thank you for that. And yes, that's all my comments. So please. Yeah.
Yes, I want to thank Octavio for reminding us that there's a universe outside of the UN, of regional bodies, of minilaterals that we should connect better with. I think I would look forward to a partnership with the Council of Europe to explore how we could capture information on everything that's being done from this House in implementation of the SDGs and the GDC agenda. So luckily, some of that path has already been traced by, or how you say in English, some of that path has already been laid out for us in the WSIS Review 2015, which linked up WSIS action lines with the SDGs. And then the GDC did something slightly lighter, which was to connect objectives to SDGs. So we have a good basis to build on to avoid what Paul was referring to, which is duplication or multiple requests for information. So let me speak to that point, and then I'll answer your technical question. There are excellent sources of data already out in the world that relate to GDC implementation. They're just not all in the same place. The GDC has 5 pillars. In the case, for example, of Pillar 2, the digital economy, there's actually very little data on how any of those objectives are being implemented. There's perhaps some knowledge, thanks to UNCTAD and WTO, on e-commerce. But according to UNCTAD and UNIDO, who have studied this question, there isn't a good source of information on initiatives across the world, or even just from the UN, of what's happening in that pillar. A similar thing happens in different sections of Pillar 3, which is about, on the one hand, internet governance, but on the other hand, new human rights challenges that are actually quite new, and therefore not a lot of data has been collected on what's going on out there. To take an example, on misinformation, on combating misinformation. We know that there are many efforts, both at the UN, at the regional level and grassroots, local level, but if you wanted to find them, you might have to spend a lot of time looking for them. So the idea of the map, and coming back to the notion that we could harness technical tools such as AI to pull in some of the data without necessarily asking stakeholders again to repeat that. At least for the case of UN sources where participants have agreed that their data be public, which is the case for the UN Global Compact, the Partner to Connect database, the WSIS stocktaking platform, and a handful of others. There's also some small quick fixes. For example, the WSIS stocktaking platform and Partner to Connect, you check a little toggle, and if you input it here, it appears in the other one. So could we do something similar? And we've approached both of those databases to ask for their consideration of that possibility. Another possibility is to build directly on the WSIS stocktaking platform. So to take what exists there and use it as sort of one of the columns for this slightly broader website, in a sense. So those are our considerations that are definitely being discussed amongst the UN agencies. And from Odette's perspective, and I think UNCTAD and UNIDO, who are part of this little subcommittee, we really believe that it is possible to link the WSIS architectures to the GDC mechanisms. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of figuring out how to do those toggles, and it's not impossible to do it. Now, paragraph 71, sometimes in the heat of the moment in the negotiations, solutions are found that then create problems. So the paragraph 71 says, attach the GDC implementation map to the WSIS progress report as an annex. And what we learned shortly after the summit is that an annex to the WSIS progress report can be of a certain length according to internal rules and budget restrictions. So it's actually quite a short length. So for the written portion of this task of attaching to the WSIS progress report a description of the WSIS of the GDC map, we have a certain word limitation. We thought, and this is part of our red teaming, we thought that to reflect properly contributions from across stakeholder groups and from around the world, that the written piece would perhaps be limiting. It's actually just a handful of pages, what can be annexed. So if we wanted to take from the Council of Europe and from the Italian NRI and the German NRI, or all kinds of different stakeholders in the written portion, we wouldn't be able to do justice to the initiatives, which is where this idea was born, to have something that can live online. And I wanted to close by saying that we're going to be inviting to focus groups to continue discussion on the GDC implementation map and to continue emerging these questions, to see if we can collaboratively find answers to those questions that satisfy the stakeholders, to ensure that this map serves the navigators. I will make sure to pass on the information for the invitation. They should begin next week, focus groups, to work out some of these questions and ensure we've built this in a collaborative fashion. If the deadlines of the ECOSOC are well understood by the team, we have until December to deliver on both of these pieces. And I look forward very much to engaging and hearing more from all of you in the months between now and then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel. And obviously, there's a lot of work going on by your team to try and get all this, these opportunities and mechanisms to converge in a very positive way. And perhaps I expect by the time of the IGF next month, your considerations will have moved forward to some conclusions. And well, we in EuroDIG certainly look forward to receiving an update on the progress of VISIT. So, okay, we have to finish there, except we have one step to take, and Vlad has been working hard to pull everything together into EuroDIG messaging, which he's going to share with us now, and then we'll have to finish.
Yeah,
so, Vlad, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, and everyone. I will try not to take long, and also I try to keep the messages concise, but at the same time really broad to cover everything and try to include the most important steps that can be undertaken by the NRIs to implement the Global Digital Compact objectives, but also how they can contribute between each other. So I will read them out loud now, and if there is no objections, then these messages, they will be taken further as a consensus between us. So the first one is NRI should act as key enablers and catalysts for change in local digital spaces by adapting global principles and encouraging open discussion among local stakeholders. This can be achieved by channeling grassroots perspectives and innovations into global policies while contextualizing the global commitments in the unique cultural contexts, economic conditions, and regulatory environments. The second one, NRIs should act as feedback loops for local communities, providing the outcomes of their work in the form of publicly available reports. NRIs can drive capacity building and address national or regional digital issues through events such as workshops and targeted programs with the special attention to vulnerable groups. Third one, NRIs could make use of the digital tools available, such as the UN tracking portal and other digital platforms, to navigate the critical milestones and KPIs, collaborate and contribute at regional and global levels. NRIs should try to become visible by getting involved and by contributing to the existing roadmaps. Yeah, so thank you everyone for the very productive session. If there is a strict objection, we have the hand raised.
Yes, I think that it's missing the point that has been mentioned by many through the IGF Secretariat. That's important that there is a coordination point. This cannot be only one too many interaction.
Yeah.
The point 3 is slightly inaccurate. Sorry, I didn't realize that there was a feedback loop on the messages, but if I may, the NRIs, so the UN tracking portal is an internal tool.
Yeah.
But the invitation is to collaborate on a future public-facing GDC implementation map if the NRIs are interested in participating.
Yeah, I mean, we still can make some adjustments to the messages. Okay. So just because we are running out of time,
we can do it after.
Yeah, maybe we can do it after the workshop, after the closing the workshop. So if you have any comments or if you want to elaborate on the messages a bit, so please feel free to approach to us and work collaboratively on the final messages. Yeah.
Okay, just to explain that process a little bit. So Vlad has taken these 2 comments. I think they are very valuable comments, and the org team has time to include those comments and finalize the messages in plain English and so on and so forth. But the question here to the audience was really if there has someone strong objections to the points that were raised. Fair points will be included. It's just running out of time and doing it all live. It's a bit tricky, but this will be taken into consideration. But honestly, the question was main objections. If not, then these will be the messages that we then share at the Global IGF and at other policy-making forums.
Okay, Sandra, thanks very much for that final point of clarification about our process. So I think we've just gone over time a bit, but so I hope there hasn't been caused any inconvenience for people here. So I just want to thank Isabel and Jengatai for joining us here, to providing so much key information to explain the progress with the implementation phase of the Global Digital Compact and how it fits with the agenda coming up, both in the UN and the IGF next month in Lillestrøm. It's all been very useful, and thanks very much for being so responsive to some very focused questions and comments from stakeholders participating here and representatives of individual NRIs. It's all been very much appreciated. Many thanks again to everybody. So I'll stop there, and thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch break or whatever you're doing next. Thank you.